The night the armed bandit burst into Mercy Hope Hospital, everything the world believed about Dr. Nathaniel Brooks shattered in a single, violent heartbeat. Until that moment, he was invisible, a quiet man with tired eyes, worn shoes, and a habit of arriving before dawn and leaving long after midnight. Nurses saw him as dependable but ordinary. Patients saw him as kind but forgettable. No one imagined that the fragile calm of his existence was built upon storms he had survived, battles he had buried, and courage he carried silently in his chest. Yet when the emergency doors flew open and terror flooded the halls, the truth about who Nathaniel really was rose from the shadows, demanding to be seen. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the hidden strength inside ordinary people, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that desperately need hope. Mercy Hope Hospital stood on the edge of a struggling neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio, its brick walls worn by decades of grief, prayer, and healing. Inside, life moved in quiet urgency. Machines hummed, shoes whispered across polished floors, the scent of antiseptic blended with tired hope. Dr. Nathaniel Brooks worked the late shift as he always did, moving gently from room to room, checking vitals, adjusting 4 lines, and offering soft reassurance. At 39, his face carried lines far older than his years, etched by memories he never spoke of. His life followed a strict routine: early mornings, long shifts, lonely dinners, and sleepless nights haunted by dreams he refused to confront. Few knew that before medicine, Nathaniel had lived another life, one marked by chaos, danger, and loss, a life he had buried beneath years of relentless service. That night, a violent crash echoed through the emergency entrance. Glass shattered. Screams erupted. A masked man stormed inside, waving a gun, his voice ragged with desperation. Panic spread like wildfire. Nurses froze. Patients cried out. Security scrambled, but the chaos unfolded too quickly. The bandit, later known as Victor Hale, was bleeding heavily from a gunshot wound to his side. His escape from a botched robbery had turned into a desperate race against death. Fear and pain had stripped him of reason, leaving only survival. He demanded treatment, threatening everyone in his path, his finger trembling dangerously close to the trigger. Nathaniel stepped forward before he had time to think. Years of discipline took control, overriding fear. He moved slowly, carefully, his hands raised, his voice calm though his heart thundered. He guided Victor into an empty trauma room, signaling the nurses to prepare equipment without sudden movements. Blood soaked through Victor's clothes, pooling on the floor. His breaths were shallow, panicked, each one carrying the weight of regret and terror. Nathaniel saw more than a criminal. He saw a dying man trapped by his own choices. As he worked, Nathaniel's past clawed its way back into his consciousness. Years earlier, he had served as a combat medic in war zones where hesitation meant death. He had seen children buried beneath rubble, soldiers bleed out in his arms, and entire villages erased overnight. Those memories haunted him, driving him to leave the battlefield and seek peace and healing rather than survival. Medicine became his redemption, a way to save what he once could not. In Victor's frantic eyes, he recognized the same despair he had seen in countless wounded men, a terror that whispered it was already too late. Time slowed inside the trauma room. Every sound sharpened. The beep of monitors, the scrape of metal instruments, the shaky breaths of the man on the table. Nathaniel worked with steady precision, extracting the bullet, stopping the bleeding, stitching torn flesh while chaos roared just beyond the door. Outside, police surrounded the hospital, weapons drawn, waiting for a moment to act. Inside, Nathaniel balanced life and death on trembling hands, refusing to let fear dictate his choices. He treated Victor not as a threat, but as a patient, because in that room, nothing else mattered. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Sweat soaked Nathaniel's scrubs. His fingers cramped, but he did not slow. The bleeding gradually eased. Victor's breathing steadied. The gun lay forgotten on the floor, its power stripped away by the fragile miracle of survival. In that silent transformation, the room shifted from battlefield to sanctuary. When the final stitch was placed, Nathaniel leaned back, exhaustion crashing over him. Victor was alive. As police stormed in and secured the room, they stared in disbelief. The man they expected to find terrified and broken stood calm, his gaze steady, his posture unshaken. News of the incident spread rapidly. Reporters gathered outside, social media erupted with footage captured by trembling phones. The quiet doctor became a symbol overnight, not of heroism alone, but of compassion in the face of danger. Yet the true weight of that night lingered in the days that followed. Nathaniel visited Victor in custody, ensuring his recovery continued. Behind bars, stripped of bravado, Victor confronted the wreckage of his life. He spoke of poverty, addiction, and a spiral of choices that had carried him far from the boy he once was. Nathaniel listened without judgment, offering not forgiveness, but understanding. For the first time, Victor began to believe he might still deserve redemption. The hospital changed too. Staff members who once overlooked Nathaniel now saw him with newfound respect. Patients requested him by name, but fame did not soften his humility. He returned to his routine, to the quiet rituals that anchored him. Yet something within him had shifted. The past he buried no longer haunted him with the same cruelty. That night had reminded him why he had chosen this path, not to escape pain but to transform it into hope. Weeks later, a letter arrived from Victor, written from his prison cell. It spoke of remorse, of gratitude, and of a determination to rebuild whatever life remained. He credited Nathaniel not only for saving his body, but for reminding him of his humanity. Nathaniel read the letter in the dim glow of his kitchen, tears tracing silent paths down his cheeks. For the first time in years, he felt peace settle within him. The story of the simple doctor who faced an armed bandit and chose mercy over fear spread far beyond Cleveland. Yet Nathaniel never embraced the title of hero. He understood that true courage often looked ordinary, that kindness required no spotlight, and that second chances could bloom in the darkest moments. Every day, he walked back into Mercy Hope Hospital, carrying the same worn bag, greeting the same tired nurses, and tending to the same fragile lives. But now, he did so with a heart unburdened, knowing that even the smallest act of compassion could rewrite a destiny. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the quiet power of kindness and forgiveness, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support allows more stories of hope and humanity to reach those who need them most. Before the ending, we have a special request. Please comment below what part of the story moved you the most, and share how you believe kindness can change lives. As the sun rose over the city, casting golden light through hospital windows, Nathaniel stood by a patient's bedside, offering comfort with the same gentle patience he always had. The world outside buzzed with headlines and praise, but inside those walls, life continued in its fragile, miraculous rhythm. And in that quiet persistence, in those steady hands and compassionate eyes, lived a truth far greater than fame, that even the simplest doctor could become a lifeline, and even the darkest moment could give birth to hope.